This is the Italian Citizenship Podcast, hosted by Marco Permunian and Rafael di Furia.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Italian Citizenship Podcast, presented by Italiancitizenshipassistance.com. Of course, we are back at it again with Italian attorney Marco Permunian. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And today, we wanted to get into the topic of how to speed up the process for Italian citizenship by descent. There's a couple of different ways that people have considered over the years and over the past year or two, actually. There have been some ways that have opened up for individuals who are looking for alternative routes to help get their Italian citizenship faster. But Marco, let's talk about the first classic way that people have used before we get into one of the newer ways that people have been using to get their Italian citizenship faster. And that would be, firstly, to apply directly in Italy at an Italian municipality. What would that be like, just quickly to overview it, and how would that compare to this new way that people have been starting to go about applying for Italian citizenship directly in Italy?
As you mentioned in this episode, we want to talk about alternative ways to get citizenship more quickly. And as you said in this episode, we're going to talk about quicker ways to get Italian citizenship by descent. And the classic way would be applying through a consulate in the country where you reside. So the normal way of the standard way of getting citizenship would be to get an appointment at your local Italian consulate in the country where you reside, wait for your appointment, submit your application, and then wait for the consulate to process your application. Now, especially in countries like South America, where the number of people of Italian descent is very large, I'm thinking of Brazil and Argentina, where there are millions of people of Italian descent. The process has become, the process through the consulate has become a little bit, I'd say it's lower than what it used to be. So a lot of people, they wonder, if I don't want to wait my place in line at the consulate, especially if my consulate is taking longer than others to process applications, is there a way for me to get citizenship more quickly? And the answer is yes, there is a way for people to acquire Italian citizenship faster if they establish a residency in Italy. And obviously, this would involve relocating to Italy for a certain amount of time. And maybe we can talk about the process more in detail, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering how the process actually works. So the first step is evidently to gather all the documents to support the citizenship application. So the documents that you need to gather to apply for citizenship in Italy are the same documents that you would gather if you wanted to apply through your local Italian consulate. So you have to gather all the birth certificates, the marriage records, the death certificates for all of the individuals in your Italian line, as well as your Italian ancestor's birth certificate and his naturalization records. So we've talked about all of the requirements that these documents need to meet in several other episodes, and these documents need to be authenticated and apostilled and translated, and also if there are discrepancies in the names or dates of birth or places of birth, you should amend these discrepancies as much as you can. But once these documents are collected, instead of presenting them to the consulate, you can relocate to Italy with all your citizenship documents, so the documents to support your citizenship application, and initiate a process through the local municipality, the municipality where you intend to relocate. So it doesn't have to be necessarily the municipality where your Italian ancestor was born. It can be any municipality in Italy. And in Italy, there are about 8,000 municipalities. Big municipalities, small municipalities, mid-sized municipalities. And I've said this before, you should choose a municipality where you're comfortable with, but also a municipality that is not too big, because the process could be a little bit slower. If the municipality is too big, there will be several offices involved in your application, several people that you have to talk to. So in my opinion, it's always best to choose a mid-sized or small municipality where you can actually talk to one person or maybe two people during the whole process. And the process will probably be even faster because they don't have a lot of work to do like big municipalities have. So once you arrive in the town, you will have to formally establish residency with the purpose of applying for citizenship by descent. And there is a law that specifically allows people who don't need a visa to enter Italy, so including Americans, to formally establish residency, so take up residency in a specific municipality with the purpose of applying for citizenship by descent. So establishing residency is normally not allowed for somebody who just visits Italy for a short amount of time. But if you're entering Italy with the purpose of applying for citizenship by descent, so you already have all your documents ready, then you are legally allowed to establish residency in that municipality. Of course, to establish residency, you will need to meet the residency requirements. So you will have to have a place to stay, meaning an apartment that you purchased or that you rented. You will have to visit the residency office, and normally they will take a look at your documents to make sure that you meet the basic requirements to apply for citizenship by descent, and then they let you establish residency, which in Italy is a process that takes a few weeks. So it's not an immediate thing. You need to apply for residency, then there will be a basically verification that you actually have a place to live in, that your house is habitable. And they do that by sending a municipal official, or more likely the municipal police, to your apartment to check that the place is habitable, you have a bedroom, the place is furnished. Once your residency is confirmed, you can formally file your citizenship application. So you would have to go back to the town hall and apply for citizenship. So you submit all your documents, you fill out the application forms that are necessary to apply for citizenship, and the process for the clerk to evaluate your case, assess your case, starts. From this moment, the clerk will basically start to review your documents and contact all of the consulates outside of Italy where you and your ascendants in your Italian line have resided, to make sure that none of you ever formally renounced their Italian citizenship. That's just a formality. Normally, it never happens that one of your ascendants renounce their Italian citizenship, but that is something that they have to check by law. And the process normally takes a few months. The clerk will have to contact all of these consulates, wait for a reply, then review your documents. Of course, they have other things to do. They maybe have other citizenship cases to evaluate. So this process will take a number of months, and but it will be normally a much faster process than the process at the consulate. And then the process will end with the clerk formally granting you citizenship. Now, if you see that the process is going to take longer than 90 days, you will have also to apply for a visa, for a residency permit that will allow you to stay in Italy for the duration of the citizenship process. And this residency permit is automatically granted just because you have initiated a process, and that process is still ongoing. So it will be given to you automatically just based on the fact that you started the citizenship process, and that the citizenship process is taking longer than 90 days. Once your citizenship has been granted, then at that point, you can apply for an Italian passport directly in Italy, or you could potentially even relocate somewhere else in Italy or somewhere else outside of Italy. So you could go back to your home country and apply for an Italian passport through the consulate in your home country. Now, this whole process, as I described it, is normally a faster option than going through your local Italian consulate.
It's very interesting that this is the process that, even though there are many steps involved, that this is actually still considered to be the faster of the two processes. But that overall, I think, regardless of what you're doing, it's not necessarily all of the steps that necessarily make up what's faster. It's maybe the processing time that's faster, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason why the processing time is faster is that there are so many municipalities in Italy, so evidently they won't have as many citizenship cases to process as opposed to, I think we have 10 Italian consulates in the US right now. They closed a few years ago, one in Newark, but right now we have 10 Italian consulates, and evidently they have many more cases to process at once because they cover a very large area, so they have a very big jurisdiction. For example, the consulate in Los Angeles has jurisdiction in Southern California, New Mexico, Nevada. So all of the people that reside there have to apply for citizenship through the consulate in LA, which means that they will have many more applications compared to one of the 8,000 municipalities that we have in Italy.
Yeah, that really is amazing how many options of different places that you have to go in Italy. And I know we've spoken about also in the past that there are certain comunes, even you mentioned in this episode, that there are some that may be better choices as well in Italy. And there may be some that may even be more accustomed to this process. And I know, for example, off the top of my head, that the comune in Rovigo, the municipality, the municipal offices there are very accustomed to dealing with Italian citizenship by descent. Maybe would you like to talk a little bit about your home area, your hometown, and a little bit of what going through the process is like in Rovigo?
Definitely. So, as you said before, picking the right municipality where to apply is extremely important, regardless of whether you want to use your services and apply in Rovigo, the town where we are located in Italy, or somewhere else. I'm saying this because not every single one of the 8,000 municipalities that we have in Italy will be familiar with the process. So we said to avoid maybe the larger cities like Milan or Rome or Florence because they're very big, they're very busy, they work slowly. So we said to pick a mid-sized or potentially a smaller municipality. But also to pick a municipality like Rovigo where the clerk is familiar with the process, so they know what they're doing. I've heard some stories of people applying in other municipalities where they had to explain the process to the clerk. So the clerk evidently knew what citizenship by descent was. They knew the rules, but they were not as familiar with the process. They had to review the rules. They had to maybe talk to their supervisors or other municipalities nearby, or maybe there was a new clerk who never did the process before, and that caused the need for the applicant to kind of teach the process to the clerk, which of course is a waste of time for the applicant, because you will just lose more time to explain the process or to wait for the clerk to understand the process. So it's better to go where they know the process very well. So my advice is to contact the municipality where you want to apply before you travel to Italy to make sure that they have a very good understanding of the process. And of course, in Rovigo, where we operate, the clerk is extremely familiar with the process. We have had several clients apply in Rovigo over the course of the years. And even the municipality, they got a team of clerks that are now specialized in processing citizenship applications. So they're very efficient. They're very reasonable with the applicants, even when there are minor discrepancies in the documents that cannot be amended. They're very, very reasonable, and they process applications relatively quickly. So my advice is choose a municipality that will make the process easy for you and not more difficult than it should be.
That's really amazing to hear, though, that they've got not just a single clerk, but a team that is familiar with this process. So that's really amazing to hear, and that's wonderful that they've taken what sounds like a proactive position to help further this process, to help push this process along. But like I said at the beginning of this episode, there's the classic way, which we've talked about so far, of speeding up the process for Italian citizenship by descent. But there's also a newer, fast way of being able to apply and being able to avoid having to deal with the consulates directly in the US. And so, Marco, what is this new door that's opened up for individuals who are interested in applying in Italy for Italian citizenship by descent?
So recently, this new way of getting citizenship quickly became very popular, and it's a very, very efficient and interesting way of getting citizenship by descent, specifically because you can petition the court and the court itself will grant you citizenship. So basically, you take the consulate and the municipality out of the equation, and you just deal with the court. And it's not that the court will then ask you to do an additional process through the municipality or the consulate. The court itself will render a decree that states that you are a citizen. So with that piece of paper, you can then register as an Italian citizen and apply for a passport through your consulate if you are residing abroad. So the advantage of this option is that you do not have to spend time in Italy and you do not have to deal with the consulate. So you get an attorney like ICA to represent you before the court, and there is no need for you to be present in Italy at any point of the process, and the attorney will deal with the whole process on your behalf. Now, until June of 2022, the court that could grant Italian citizenship for people residing abroad was the Court of Rome exclusively, which was getting a little bit overwhelmed with cases, so the process was becoming a little bit slower than it used to be. But luckily and surprisingly, the Italian government made a new law last year in 2022 to address the issue, because the Court of Rome was becoming very overwhelmed with these cases. So they basically stated that now whoever resides abroad can petition the court in the region where the ancestor was born. So if your ancestor was born in the Campania region, then you have to deal with the Court of Naples. And the good thing is that these courts, they operate rather quickly. So the process is even quicker than it used to be in Rome. And like I said, you do not have to be present in Italy during the process. You have to provide the court with all the documents to support your citizenship application. And you will have to prove, though, you will have to submit evidence that the process through the consulate would be longer for you, so that you have legal standing to ask the court to grant you citizenship rather than waiting in line at the consulate. And this process became very popular when the consulates in Brazil, I've mentioned that before, started to have very long waiting lists for people to be able to submit their application. Even people had to wait a number of years to meet with the clerk at the consulate. So they started to petition the court, and these courts have started to grant citizenship because of that. So if you find yourself in a situation where your consulate is maybe has, I don't know, due to the health emergency, they suspended the appointments for a certain period of time, or the appointment will be too far ahead in the future, you have legal standing, you can petition the court and submit all the documents to the court and have citizenship recognized directly by the courts in Italy.
It's really amazing to hear that this new path has opened up, because I remember in previous episodes, we spoke many times about how really the only way was to be able to apply directly in Italy or directly at a consulate. So it's really fascinating that this is all opened up. And even you mentioned before about how you've heard about stories where people have had to teach the comune how to actually go through the process. And even when I applied even at a consulate for Italian citizenship at a consulate that wasn't so used to it, I had to explain some of the process to them, and had to go into the back and look at the books and talk to this and that and the other. And then they're like, all right, we can do it, we think. But also even I've heard about municipalities where they in fact thought it just wasn't possible at all and turned people away because they thought it was illegal. They thought it was not even possible because this person is born in another country. How could they be Italian? This can't be, but it in fact is possible to do. But just to continue on with this new style of process, once the person has received the answer from the judge about their citizenship, how do they move on from there? Are they already an Italian citizen? Do they have to register something? Are they already registered? Are there steps that are between them having that final case judged upon and when they can get their passport? Or what does that all look like in there?
There are some additional steps that need to be taken. I'd say quite easy steps. So once you get the decision from the judge, you will have to register the decision, which is rendered in the form of a decree. So you will have to get a certified copy of that decree from the court, and your attorney, of course, will do that, or ICA if you're using our services, and you'll have to register through your attorney the decree in the municipality where your ancestor, who was born in Italy, was from. And the registration process can take a few weeks. It should be a very easy process, but again, municipalities, in some cases, you have to explain what happened, what's going on. Maybe you're lucky, you get a very experienced cleric, but if you're unlucky, you will have to deal with a cleric who maybe doesn't really know what's going on. So you'll have to kind of explain that you got citizenship through the courts. This is the judgment. The judgment needs to be registered, but your attorney will explain, of course, everything to the comune. And once your judgment is registered in the comune, you can then register yourself as an Italian citizen residing abroad with the Italian consulate. So you register with the AIRE, which is the registry of the Italian citizens residing abroad. And that, again, takes a few weeks. Once you're registered with the AIRE, you can apply for your passport. So you book an appointment with the passport office, and the passport office normally is not as busy as the citizenship office. At the consulate, there are two completely separate offices, so you have to deal with the passport office, not the citizenship office. And the passport office will give you your Italian passport on the spot sometimes, or they will just mail it to you after 1 to 2 weeks.
Again, I really have to say that it's fantastic that this new ability for people to apply for Italian citizenship is opened up, because I know for a lot of people it will really make a big difference. I know for myself it would have made a massive difference at certain points, and even being able to have dealt directly with Italy rather than going through a consulate would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of headaches. So really, it's, again, absolutely fantastic to hear about this. But I think this is also going to be a great place to wrap up this episode. So Marco, of course, if anybody is needing help to get their Italian citizenship, whether it is in Italy at the consulate or in Italy remotely through a court case, how can they get in contact with you and your team?
People can contact us through our website, Italiancitizenshipassistance.com, or give us a call. Our number is on our website.
Absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you're interested in more content like this about Italian citizenship, be sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel and the audio-only podcast. But of course, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, you are also automatically subscribed to the Italian Real Estate Podcast, another project that Marco and I collaborate on, where we talk about getting Italian real estate, about moving to Italy, and some of those practical aspects of being able to call Italy your home in a physical sense. But of course, if you're interested also in more content about life abroad, living abroad as a dual citizen expat, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rafael di Furia. You can also check out the audio-only podcast, Not Your Average Globetrotter, and find it through a Google search. And of course, thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of the Italian Citizenship Podcast, presented by Italiancitizenshipassistance.com. Of course, Mr. Marco Permunian, thank you so much for making yourself available. I'm Rafael di Furia. Stay safe and healthy out there, and we will see you all next time. Later.
Thank you.